huge game on Friday night. I suppose one that is both clubs' season kind of hinges on, really, after the events of the last weekend.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's huge because it's the FAI Cup. It's obviously St. Pat's are the holders, and obviously they won it last year for the first time in 51 years or whatever. But from our point of view, it's the biggest game of the season for us, and so I suppose we were in this morning. Everyone's looking forward to it. We know how important it is. A chance to get to Aviva. We haven't been there, even though it's still a good few rounds away, but it is an opportunity. So massive match for us.
And what's the morale like after the back-to-back defeats? Because you hadn't lost two league games in a row since May of last year when you lost to Dundalk and then Pats late on.
Yeah, well, obviously, people aren't happy about it. We're not happy ourselves, but at the same time, I think the difference with this week is that it's a different competition. As you say, Pats had a bad defeat themselves the other night, so it's a 50-50 game. We spoke about this morning, biggest game of the season. And I'm appealing to our fans to go out in big numbers and get behind us, and because I just think it's the type of game where it's going to be tight, and we need to play very well, and and obviously with our home support, that might get us over the line.
Are you worried, the staff at all, yourself in the management? The record against the top four teams, Pat's being one of them now, is poor. You've only taken 4 points in the league from a possible 18, and that was a bit of an Achilles heel as well last year. That needs to be addressed, doesn't it?
Well, it does. You want to win every match. I suppose the beauty about this week, you see, you can't really compare it to last year. Like if you look at last year, we beat Rovers 3 times. We beat Pats and took a win and took a draw. Dundalk was a team we didn't beat, and but we took a draw off Dundalk this year. But I think the beauty about Friday night is that it's a cup game. It's a different type of game. It's a one-off, and I think when you approach games like that, sometimes in the league, it's you always have a fall back on. In the cup, you don't. And obviously we played them in the League Cup early in the season while both teams were probably weren't at full strength. Went to extra time, went to penalties. So, but I think there's a beauty about the cup because everyone knows you win 5 games, you win the cup. So it's totally different to the league, and it's a different atmosphere, a different feeling. So from that point of view, all the players are looking for it because they know there's a real opportunity there, and it's an opportunity to bounce back after the weekend. But more importantly, it's a different competition, and you win the game, you're a step closer to the Viva.
And unfortunately, the injuries are building up. What's the latest on?
Yeah, well, I suppose that's the biggest disappointment for us is that it just shows you how quick things come around. If you lose, 4 or 5 through injuries, it knocks your panel, and we don't. Obviously, everywhere where everyone's restricted by budget, you have your panel, and that's where it's at. But at the same time, you just deal with that. So the way it is, obviously, Gavin is still out now, going to be out for a long time. Johnny is obviously out and going to be out for a long time. Danny Morrissey is out probably for another couple of weeks. And I suppose, the plus was that John Kavanagh came in and we got 70 minutes. Obviously we're hoping he'll have no reaction to that. Darren Denny just came back in after being out for a long time. So again, it's a bit basically sort of with 3 games in a week. It's trying to wrap cotton wool around and try and get everyone back for Friday night. But it's it's been, and Mark has had his knock as well, and Kevin obviously got a knock on the head. So there was so many bloody knocks going on. But at the same time, look at where we're treating every fella day by day, and we're hoping by Friday morning that certainly we'd expect some of them to be back in contention.
Is that affecting the way you can train, John, if guys are minding themselves?
Well, to be fair to them, it's not about minding themselves. It's just a situation where they've no choice. You know what I mean? And it does obviously affect it because there's certain things you may want to do that you can't do because there's certain personnel missing. But look at the only way you prepare for that is you prepare with other players. And maybe you give some fellas, maybe they you might decide to wait till the last minute with certain players. Other players you may not decide to wait on it. And then plus the fact you see is we run into the following weekend, then we have another 2 league games. So every weekend it's huge. And as I keep saying, when you have 3 games a week, it's tough going. But look, at the most important thing is that we had a chat this morning, the lads had a chat, and it's the cup. And there's always a different feeling with the cup, and there's a different sort of I suppose. I wouldn't say nervousness, but preparation, because everyone knows it's a once-off, and you win, you're a step closer. You lose, you're deflated. But everyone's really looking forward to the game, and we expect it to be a huge challenge for us. But I keep saying it's the biggest game of the season, and I'm just asking the fans to come out in huge numbers, and that's the main thing about it.
Same as you do yourself. The opposition seem to be doing their homework on Cork City, and the last two games, both teams pressed very high up the field. Limerick did it, and there's a perceived lack of pace at the heart of the City defence, and both teams kind of went to exploit it, didn't they?
I don't know. Did they really? I think to be fair, last Friday night was a bad night. We had, lots of players individually who didn't perform, and as I keep saying, if 3 or 4 players don't perform, it knackers the team. The other night, I think, to be fair, it was 0-0. Stephen Beattie raced through, keep him at a fantastic save, which was giving us a goal kick, I'm sure. Barry Murphy wasn't too happy about that because it was a phenomenal save, and that was 0-0. And then the score from a header, so the second goal, the lads were claiming the ball was gone wide when the cross came in. I don't know if it was, but North came in. So to be fair, I don't before last weekend everyone was saying that Dan Murray and Alan Bennett, who played the majority of our games and conceded 11 goals, were the 2 best centre backs out there, which they are, and they're fantastic guys. So and they played together, and I think when the game got stretched, when you were 2-0 down and we had to throw caution to the wind, but at the same time, if you look at the goals we've conceded in the last 2 games, it hasn't because of that. It's because of people not picking up and maybe not stopping crosses and stuff like that. And that's something we've worked on. And those 2 guys have been brilliant for us.
The question that has to be asked, John, with Rob going out on loan, Danny pulling the hamstring, any hopes or any thoughts of reintroducing Billy Dennehy?
Well, Billy's training with us as normal for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, he'd missed the month because there was a period where he had an opportunity to move on, so he's been back training for the last couple of weeks.
Does that mean he's not looking at any other options to move on?
He can't.
He can't.
Yeah.
So would he be in the frame for Friday night?
The way it is, look at this every week. He's back training with us. So we assess every situation, and that's where it's at.
John, Marcus struggling for the last couple of weeks now with his knees. The injured doesn't seem to be going away.
Yeah.
How big a loss would he be if he can't play Friday night? And if he can't play, would you be looking at the possibility of playing Carl Shepherd up front?
Yeah, or Flinney. Yeah, I suppose it's one of those ones that it's been a blow to Mark because he was on such a good run. When you're on a run, you get 6 and 5. You expect to score every week, and then obviously last week we took a chance with him, and it was obvious after 20-25 minutes probably that it was catching him. And but he's that type of guy that you always think he might get you one. And then the other night, he felt before the game he was okay. So it's a situation we could put Shep straight up the centre, or we could bring Flinney in. So the option is there for us, but we haven't made any decision because it's just cutting all the time for these few days just to bring us to Friday, and we'll assess everyone. No, to be fair to him, he got a bad knock in the knee and hasn't done any damage, but it was just severe bruising, and he had a lot of swelling, which restricted his running, and that is the problem. So effectively speaking, if we had in the game probably on Monday, there was no question not being available for this weekend, but it's just he probably just needs 3 or 4 days, and we just don't have it at the moment.
Just on the up to the weekend, where both passing ourselves kind of last lengthy unbeaten runs.
Yeah.
The potential for the game, I know it's the biggest game of the season for both clubs probably, but potentially as well it could be a cracking match really. But up to the weekend we're in very good form. Yeah,
but even I think the games between us are great games. I think to be fair, we all know what Pats are. They come out and they play from the back, and they build the play, and they won the league 2 years ago, won the cup last year. Tremendous players. When you look at their team with Gavin or Killian Brennan, Bolger, Chambers, Conal Byrne, Forrester, all fantastic players. So I think when you look at the games that we've had, like the League Cup game was a cracker. I think if you go back in last season, opening game of the season, we had a cracker, went back up there, we lost 3-2, came down here and Healy got the overhead kick. They've been all fantastic matches to watch and real. I think both teams go for it. That's their style, that's our style, and so I expect it to be a great game, and I think the fact that being a cup game is going to add it even more, because both teams know that it's on the night, and it's an opportunity of going through. Like,
so perhaps one of the teams from the style of play they have, like they're one of the teams you admire, and you have a lot of time for the manager as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, look, we're trying to get to the stage where you can quite clearly see that we've changed from last season to this season, and we're trying to that we've changed our whole style as well, and that's where you want to get to. And but you just don't do it overnight. And it takes personnel to work with, and different personnel, and we've worked on that this year. And I suppose we've become a lot more. We're playing a lot more from the back through midfield as well, and it's work in progress, but we're doing very well at it, and I suppose up to last weekend we were doing fantastic. Of course, when you lose a couple of games, everyone thinks the wheels have come off and there's something wrong with, but these things happen. You know what I mean? It's like, as I keep saying, when you're winning all the time, are you doing anything right? You're just keeping the train on tracks, and when you lose one or two, then it's what has happened. But these things happen, and you just have to show character and bounce back. And I think with Friday night, I think there's a good feeling amongst the lads that they know how important the game is. It's the biggest game of the season. I think they certainly that has hit home.
What would actually mean to you to get to the final?
Look at it, as I keep saying. When I came into the club, a sleeping giant. We'd be nowhere. Obviously, from the whole force taking over and being in the first division, we'd be nowhere. And I guess from day one, I wanted to be back up there, competing, be competitive, getting into Europe as a minimum. And we've won 2 leagues and 2 cups in 31 years. Shows they're not easy to do, and we've had some fantastic teams in this club. But from my point of view, it's driving us on. And as I keep saying, I want to keep the club up there, challenging all the time. And it would be an honour for me if that occasion happened. But as I said, Friday night's such a big game, and it's still a long way off.
And the last thing you probably want Friday night is a draw. We need another game Dublin Monday.
I was hoping you wouldn't mention that, Billy. John Cotter got injured at training this morning, so even he's out for that one. And I think, to be fair to both sides, I don't think either team would want that. But look at, teams are tied together. It's you look at the League Cup game that went extra time. Our league game early in the season was 0-0. So these things could happen. So, but I think certainly our intention certainly wouldn't be to go and win the match on Friday night.
John, just a word on supporters, and you talk about hoping that they come through the turnstiles on Friday night. If supporter confidence has taken a bit of a hit over last weekend, what would you say to supporters who, who will come see Cork City on Friday night?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's the character of the club. It's the strength of the club. You know what I mean? It's we've all, like myself, we've all been on the stands watching matches, been at finals, been at league deciders, not winning them, playing them. Like it's for the club. The club are, who are the club? The club are the supporters, the management, the players, and when everything is rosy in the garden, it's easy to come out. When you suffer a knock, what you do, turn your back and walk away. You know what I mean? You have to stand up and be counted. And as I said, our support has been phenomenal, been fantastic. And certainly, has it been a difficult few days? Of course it has. How do you react? You bounce back. You come out in force again and get behind the team. Biggest game of the season, cup game. And so I think that's why I'm appealing to our fans. It's so important. And it's easy sometimes, if you're a fair weather supporter, to turn your back and whatever. But we've real true supporters that you need to stay there. And we've had a lot of good times in the last year and a half. You can't just turn your back on 1 or 2 bad days. You have to come back in, and that's the strength of the club. And like the history of the club, we've had a lot of bad days, but we've had some good days as well. And Friday night's a huge game for us. So that's why I'm appealing to the fans to go out in huge numbers and be very vocal, and see could we get a step closer to the Viva.
Just as we're here in Navy Community College as well, John, how's the academy going?
Well, the academy is being launched. It's the first year, starting in September. It's unique for our club, as we said. Since I've come in, the Force has been a real community club. But since I've come in, we've been trying to put a lot of structures in with our underage. Obviously, this is a new academy starting in September. It's allowing kids that go to this school from 4th year upwards to train twice a week as a professional player, coached by our qualified professional coaches, and hoping that they can progress to turn into professional players. And I suppose, look, I keep saying this, the ethos of our club is we don't have budgets that Pats, Dundalk, Rovers have. Okay, we have to promote our own players. We're constantly bringing our own young players through. Already, if you look at our under-19s, I think we've had 8 of our under-19s already in training with us this season, and some in for maybe a couple of months, others in maybe for 4 or 5 sessions. We've already registered one of our under-19s this week in Dozy as well. We've young Ellis registered. We've Timmy Murphy, Craig Donlan, Keane Cobb and Chris Cobb. We've all these guys registered for guys, and we've been bringing them in and out and bringing them to games with us to give them that experience, because we have to promote our own players. And if you look at like the players we have, the Lee Hands, the Danny Morrisseys, the Gary Buckleys, John Cavanaghs, all those fellas come through. And while you will always bring in so many players from the outside, your nucleus has to be promoting your own players through. And sometimes people can be a bit impatient on that, because, and that's what I said, like you look at Gary Buckley, he's 21 years of age. He's in his 3rd season. He's doing fantastic with us. But if he has a couple of bad games, people think, he should be doing better. He's still only learning the game. He's a lot to do, but a fantastic guy. Same with John Kavanagh. Same with Brian Lennon last year. So we have to bring our own players through. And that's what we're doing. And we have a really good crop of players from under 17s and under 19s coming through. The association with Nagle is fantastic. It's going to give 20 players in this locality going to school here to train twice a week with our coaches during school time, which is phenomenal, and really gearing them to see can they come through and turn into professional players.
How did the selection of those 20 players work? I mean, was there...
It hasn't been done. At the moment, it's confined to the students in this school. Okay, and it's our first link up. We would hope to have more links with other schools around the city, but it's our first, I suppose, a trial on it, and the plan is that we'll have 20 players from 15 to 18 who will be picked as obviously just the soccer is very strong in the school. They have a very strong senior school team, and we've already identified 13 or 14 obvious players there, but there are obviously other players that are in transition year, in 5th year, who will come to the trials in early September in the school, and then that'll be the elite academy group then, and they'll train full time then for the year. On this.
I mean, the start of kind of conveyor through the 17s, 19s. You hope for the senior team. Hopefully,
and I suppose what we're trying to do here, Billy, really is that it's about promoting kids. It's about education. A lot of people believe if you're not in England at 15 or 16, you haven't made it. Rubbish. We've had Alan Brown, Garrod Morrissey alone from this area, Eric Grimes. You know what I mean? Who's so? But even for the fact that Alan Brown and Garrod have come from ourselves and gone to England. So what we're trying to do is show that education is crucial. Stay in education, but give them the opportunity that they'll still play with their local clubs, that we'll come in and give them elite training during school time, and hopefully then that they can see that what's required to bring them up, and hopefully we'll see that at the end of this year, next year, that we'll see a couple of players coming through every year who will be used to our way of training, who will be used to what they need to do to prepare for full-time football, because it's a huge commitment, but it's just giving them an opportunity. That opportunity is there, and that's what we're trying to do.
I suppose the question we all would love to know the answer to, going so well up to last weekend and then just conceded 6 goals last 2 games. Morale all right?
It's the same, really. I think the Limerick game killed us. I think we went into the game, probably a few of us thinking that this should be an easy enough game, but they're scrapping for their lives, and they pressed us very, very well, and we didn't have a plan B, and it probably took us a half hour to get into the game, which normally we start like a house on fire, really, and by then we were 1-0 down and struggling, and we conceded some sloppy goals in that game. And I think going into the Monday game, from that game, we were very disappointed going into it. And Monday was a massive game, and I think 3-0 flattered them. We had a good enough start. We should have scored with beats, and we had a couple of very good corners, a couple of good set pieces. We should have nicked the goal maybe, but then they just steamrolled us in the second half, and we couldn't really change that. And so disappointed, but we know how big Friday is, so it wasn't too bad today in training. Morale was okay, so we'll see what it's like tomorrow, and we'll just move on.
How are you finding life in midfield?
I'm just a utility lad, I think. Wherever you ask me to play, I've played. I think the only position I haven't played is centre half this year, so As long as I'm playing, I don't really mind.
And you're well up for it, obviously.
Oh yeah, to be fair, like it's 5 years since I played in the midfield, like, so it's very good to get a chance now. I think you're more involved in games, plus you're playing with the likes of Liam Miller in there as well, which is always a plus. But since I've been in there, we lost 2 games, so I can't really brag.
What was just at St. Pat's?
What about them?
I was just asking.
Very good team on paper. Very dangerous side in a one-off game, like a cup game. Very, very dangerous side. They've got some fantastic players. I think I don't even need to go through the team. They've got very good players, and we've got great players. And all the games we've played against them, it's been very, very good, entertaining games. And they pass the ball very well, and it makes us pass the ball very well. So I think it's going to be a very open game. It's going to be a very good cup tie. And you have to beat the best teams to get to the final. So we might as well start with Pats and then maybe Dundalk in the next round. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like they did well last year. It was a poor enough final, but like they've got it. I won it with Sligo, and it was probably the best moment of my career winning it there. Just even to play in Aviva is amazing. Good for you. The boys have been in cup finals before, so they know what it's about. And everyone's up for this game. If you're not up for this game, there's something wrong with you. Like
you mentioned passing, and it's probably one of the criticisms of Cork that of the 4 top teams, Dundalk, Pats being a passing team, and Rovers the other night seemed to be better. I saw somebody said better with more precision and penetration than Cork have. Do you think this season, with the change in style since coming back from Europe, we seem to be getting to that level of the game as well?
I think we've normally passed the ball sideways and not gone forward. I think now with the likes of Beats and Sheps staying quite high, we've got very good options. And with Mark, he's probably the best person in the air. It's like very hard not to hit him in the air because he wins everything. Like I think Gav did very, very well when he was playing in the hole. And we've got the players to play football. It's just when a team like Limerick comes down scrapping for their lives, press as hard as they can, it's quite tough to change that game plan in the game. I think they just caught it by surprise, but no one can understand how we performed the other night. It wasn't good enough as a team. We know that. So obviously we're going to go out now Friday and try and do the right things, which we have been doing. Like I think it's a big overreaction to the Limerick game because we have been playing very well. We've been on a very good run. We've been scoring lots of goals, not conceding, but I think we've conceded 6 in the last 2 games, 11 the rest of the season. Like, so it shows you we're not a bad team. We haven't become one overnight, and I think we put it right now Friday. Hopefully we get a big crowd and we get back to the way we've been playing.
Ross, when the draw was made, this was the pick of the cup ties, and is it coming at the best possible time on the back of the league form?
It could come any time. As I said before, like if you can't get up for a game against Pats in the cup, a one-off game, like if you win that, you're in another final, and then you're in the big final. I think we could be playing anyone, and we'd have the same mentality this week. I think the league's going to be quite hard to get back now. I think the cup's going to be a very good chance for us, and to be fair, as I said, like Pats are a very, very good team. Could have been anybody, though. We still would have been the same. We want to win this. We're desperate to win this game. All the players know. Like a couple of players mightn't be pushing next year for the same kind of medals, and we know this is a very, very good chance to get a cup medal. And not many players have cup medals, so a lot of the younger lads are dying to get a bit of action in the Aviva as well. So yeah, it's exciting for Friday.
But in the context of the cup, obviously it's a massive game, but also for the league and where you're at, a big result and a big performance on Friday night.
It's needed, yeah, it's definitely needed after that weekend. That weekend was horrible, and I think it's come perfect time for us to show reaction against one of the best teams in the league. And as I said, it's a one-off game, so everyone's going to be buzzing for it. And we have a small squad now, and obviously, it's going to be such a big game.